The countdown reached 0, and silence fell across the solar system. Where 50,000 Zephyrian warships had threatened Earth just minutes before, fewer than 3,000 damaged vessels remained. The rest had been reduced to expanding clouds of debris that would orbit the sun for millions of years as monuments to imperial arrogance. Admiral Crix stood on the bridge of his crippled flagship and stared at displays showing the complete destruction of his fleet. The humans had not just defeated the Zephyrian Empire, they had done it with such overwhelming superiority that resistance had become impossible within minutes of the battle beginning. "Admiral, all remaining ships are requesting permission to surrender," his communications officer reported. "Our weapons systems are offline, and our shields are failing." Crix nodded slowly. In 40 years of military service, he had never imagined facing an enemy so far beyond Zephyrian capabilities. The humans had revealed technology that treated the fundamental laws of physics as tools to be manipulated rather than barriers to be overcome. "Transmit unconditional surrender on all frequencies," Crix ordered. "Inform all ships to power down weapons and prepare to be boarded." On Earth, President Morrison stood before the communication array that would broadcast his message throughout the galaxy. Representatives of dozens of alien governments were monitoring the engagement, expecting to witness humanity's extinction. Instead, they had seen the birth of a new galactic superpower. "Citizens of the galaxy, this is President Morrison of the United Earth Government," he began. "For 60 years, humanity has maintained the illusion that we were a peaceful, defenseless species. Today, that illusion ends." The message reached alien worlds across hundreds of light years, carried by quantum communication arrays that had been hidden throughout human space. Every government that had dismissed Earth as insignificant was suddenly forced to recalculate their understanding of galactic politics. General Tony Miller stood beside Morrison as the president continued his address. Miller had commanded Earth's hidden military for 15 years, waiting for the day when humanity would reveal its true nature to the galaxy. "The Zephyrian Empire came to our system believing they could conquer and enslave us," Morrison continued. "They discovered that humanity's greatest weapon is not our technology, but our patience. We have been preparing for this day since before most of you knew we existed. Throughout the solar system, human installations began the process of securing and processing thousands of alien prisoners. The Zephyrians, who had expected to be conquerors, found themselves guests of a species they had completely underestimated. Commander Johnson monitored the power-down sequence as Earth's weapons gradually returned to standby status. The massive defense network that had just destroyed an Imperial fleet was designed to appear completely normal within hours of engagement ending. "All Prometheus installations returning to concealment mode," Johnson reported. "External camouflage. Systems will be fully operational within 6 hours." Dr. Kate Phillips began the complex process of analyzing captured Zephyrian technology and biological samples. The aliens who had seemed so advanced that morning were now revealed to be technologically inferior to. The final countdown had begun, and Admiral Crix watched his fleet die in ways he had never imagined possible. The humans had revealed weapons that turned physics itself into an instrument of destruction. Ships that had conquered star systems were being torn apart by forces that should not exist. "Admiral, we have lost contact with the 3rd Battle Group," reported his communications officer. "The 7th Fleet is reporting complete system failures across their entire formation." Crix stared at the tactical display and tried to understand what he was seeing. Human weapons were not just destroying his ships. They were making them impossible. Vessels simply stopped existing as reality bent around them. Others found their hulls transformed into materials that could not support their own structure. 10 minutes remained on the countdown timer that had appeared on every screen throughout the Zephyrian fleet. The humans were not just defeating them, they were announcing exactly how long the defeat would take. Colonel Amy Walsh commanded the Lunastrike Division from her position deep beneath the moon's surface. The massive railgun that had been hidden inside Earth's satellite was firing projectiles that traveled faster than most ships could detect. Each shot could punch through a dozen capital ships before losing momentum. Luna batteries firing at maximum rate, Walsh reported. Enemy formations in Sector 7 are completely eliminated. The lunar weapon was just one part of humanity's revealed arsenal. What the Zephyrians had thought was a dead rock was actually the largest single gun ever constructed. 40 years of secret construction had hollowed out the moon and filled it with a weapon that could crack planets. Major Chris Baker directed the Mars Defense Corps as they deployed gravity manipulation technology that the Zephyrian Empire could not comprehend. The red planet had been converted into a massive gravity projector capable of crushing ships or flinging them into the sun with equal ease. Mars Command, engaging enemy clusters in the outer system, Baker announced. Gravity weapons are performing beyond expected parameters. Baker watched as entire squadrons of alien ships were compressed into dense balls of metal and electronics. Others found themselves accelerated to significant fractions of light speed and hurled into the empty darkness between stars. The humans were not just winning, they were rewriting the rules of warfare. Dr. Kate Phillips monitored the battle from her laboratory while analyzing Zephyrian response patterns. Their military doctrine assumed technological superiority and overwhelming numbers. When those advantages disappeared, their entire command structure began to collapse. Enemy coordination is breaking down rapidly, Phillips reported. Individual ships are attempting to surrender while others try to fight. Their fleet cohesion is completely gone. 9 minutes remained on the countdown as more human installations revealed themselves throughout the solar system. What had appeared to be mining stations in the asteroid belt opened fire with weapons that created new elements as they destroyed their targets. Fusion beams that burned hotter than stellar cores reached across millions of kilometers to vaporize enemy ships. Captain Turner coordinated the overall defense from Earth's hidden command center. 60 years of planning had created the most sophisticated military network in galactic history. Every weapon knew where every other weapon was firing. Every shot was calculated to maximize damage while avoiding friendly installations. Sector by sector elimination proceeding on schedule, Turner reported. Enemy fleet strength reduced by 67% and falling. The Zephyrian ships that tried to flee found their escape routes blocked by quantum displacement mines that had been invisible until activated. Captain Lisa Hunt's perimeter defense network created barriers in space itself that no known technology could penetrate. All escape vectors secured, Hunt announced. Enemy vessels attempting to retreat are being redirected back into the engagement zone. 8 minutes remained as Emperor Thane received increasingly desperate reports from his fleet commanders. The force that was supposed to conquer Earth was being systematically destroyed by weapons that his scientists could not explain. How can they manipulate gravity itself? Thane demanded of his advisors. How can they alter the fundamental structure of matter? His chief scientist looked at the tactical data with growing horror. Emperor, the humans appear to have weaponized quantum mechanics itself. They are not just using advanced technology, they are rewriting the laws of physics in localized areas. Commander Steve Johnson monitored power consumption throughout the defense network as Project Prometheus reached full operational capacity. The hidden power plants that had been disguised as civilian facilities for decades were feeding energy into weapons that converted matter directly into destructive force. Power grid stable at maximum output, Johnson reported. All Prometheus installations operating within normal parameters. We can maintain this level of engagement indefinitely. 7 minutes remained as Lieutenant Colonel Rachel Stone directed the Asteroid Belt Defense Network. Thousands of weapon platforms that had been hidden inside hollowed-out rocks opened fire simultaneously. The entire belt became a single massive gun aimed at the invading fleet. Asteroid Defense Network fully engaged, Stone reported. Enemy ships entering the belt are being eliminated at a rate of approximately 200 per minute. The Zephyrians found themselves fighting an entire solar system that had been converted into a weapon. Every moon, every planet, every piece of space debris had been turned into part of humanity's defense grid. There was nowhere to hide and no way to fight back effectively. Admiral Crix tried to maintain control of his disintegrating fleet as reports flooded in from all sectors. His ships were not just being destroyed, they were being dismantled at the molecular level by weapons that treated the laws of physics as suggestions rather than absolute rules. "Admiral, the humans are hailing us," his communications officer reported. President Morrison's image appeared on the main screen of every surviving Zephyrian ship. The man they had dismissed as the leader of a primitive species now spoke with the calm authority of absolute victory. "Admiral Crix, you have 6 minutes to order your fleet's complete surrender," Morrison said. "Your ships will power down all weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any vessel that continues hostile action will be eliminated." 6 minutes remained on the countdown as the scope of humanity's deception became clear to the surviving Zephyrians. Earth had not just been hiding weapons, it had been hiding an entirely different level of technological development. The humans were not primitive. They were the most advanced military power the galaxy had ever produced. 5 minutes remained as more alien ships fell to weapons that operated on principles unknown to Zephyrian science. Particle beams that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously cut through energy shields as if they were not there. Reality distortion fields turned enemy projectiles into harmless energy that was absorbed and used to power human weapons. 4 minutes remained as Admiral Crix realized that his 50,000 ship fleet had been reduced to fewer than 5,000 functional vessels. The humans were not just defeating them, they were doing it with such efficiency that the battle was proceeding on a predetermined schedule. 3 minutes remained as Emperor Thane made the decision that would end the Zephyrian Empire's expansion forever. His most powerful fleet was being destroyed by a species he had considered inferior in every way. There would be no victory here, only the choice between surrender and complete annihilation. 2 minutes remained as the surviving Zephyrian commanders began broadcasting surrender signals on all frequencies. The humans had not just won the battle, they had demonstrated technological superiority so complete that further resistance was impossible. 1 minute remained as President Morrison prepared to address not just the defeated fleet, but the entire galaxy that was monitoring the engagement. Humanity's masquerade was over, and it was time to announce Earth's true place in the galactic community. The countdown reached 0, and the Zephyrian Empire discovered what it meant to pick a fight with the most dangerous predator in known space. The last 10 minutes had ended, but they were the last 10 minutes of Zephyrian dominance, not human existence. The Zephyrian fleet moved through the inner solar system like a dark cloud of death. 50,000 warships spread across millions of kilometers of space, their hulls gleaming with the confidence of unstoppable predators. Admiral Crix stood on his command bridge and watched Earth grow larger on the main screen. "Begin final approach," Crix ordered. "Deploy attack formations and prepare to eliminate any orbital defenses." The fleet's scanners detected exactly what they expected to find. A handful of primitive satellites orbited the blue planet. Several small space stations appeared to be research facilities. There was no sign of significant military presence anywhere in the system. "Admiral, we are detecting approximately 12 human spacecraft attempting to form a defensive line," reported the tactical officer. "Their ships are less than 200 meters in length. Shall we destroy them?" Crix laughed. "Let them come. It will be amusing to watch them try." The human ships approached the massive alien fleet like insects flying toward a forest fire. Their hulls looked patched and hastily constructed. Their weapons appeared to be primitive chemical rockets and simple energy beams. The Zephyrians prepared to swat them aside without slowing down. On Earth, President Morrison stood in the deep command center and watched the final moments of humanity's greatest deception. The countdown timer showed less than 10 minutes remaining until activation. 60 years of preparation were about to be revealed. "All stations report ready," announced Captain Turner. "Project Prometheus stands by for your order." Morrison looked around the room at faces that showed calm determination. These people had trained their entire lives for the next few minutes. Their families had planned for this moment before most of them were born. "The masquerade ends now," Morrison said. "Activate Prometheus Protocol." Commander Johnson's fingers moved across controls that had been waiting decades to be used. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, massive power plants that had been disguised as geothermal facilities began feeding energy into systems the aliens could never have imagined. The first sign of change came from the asteroid belt. What had appeared to be natural rocks and ice suddenly began moving in patterns that defied physics. Thousands of asteroids shifted position, revealing weapon systems that had been hidden inside them for 40 years. Admiral Crix frowned as his sensors detected the movement. "What are those objects doing?" Before anyone could answer, the space around Mars began to change. The red planet's surface opened like a flower blooming in fast motion. Massive installations rose from hidden chambers beneath the Martian soil. Weapon platforms the size of cities emerged from concealment and turned toward the approaching fleet. "Admiral, we are detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system," the sensor operator reported, his voice rising with panic. "I am reading weapon systems larger than our capital ships." But the surprises were just beginning. The moon suddenly split open along carefully hidden seam lines. What the aliens had thought was Earth's natural satellite revealed itself to be the largest weapon ever constructed. The lunar surface folded back like armor plating, exposing the barrel of a railgun that could be seen from Earth with the naked eye. Captain Turner's voice echoed across all communication frequencies as he broadcast from the hidden command center. "Attention, Zephyrian fleet. You have made a serious mistake. Earth is not helpless, and we are not afraid." The space around Earth itself began to shimmer and twist. Orbital platforms that had been hidden by sophisticated cloaking technology appeared like ghosts becoming solid. Defense stations the size of small cities materialized in perfect formation around the planet. Colonel Amy Walsh activated the North American defense grid from her underground command center. Across the continent, mountains opened to reveal missile silos that had been disguised as natural formations. Lakes drained to expose weapon platforms. Even major cities began transforming as their buildings moved aside to reveal military installations beneath. North American grid fully active, Walsh reported. All continental defense networks report operational status. The Zephyrian fleet found itself surrounded by weapons they had never imagined possible. Every piece of space debris, every asteroid, every moon and planet in the system had been transformed into part of a single massive defense network. Major Chris Baker commanded the Mars installations as they came online. The planet's volcanoes were revealed to be launch platforms for weapons that operated on principles the Zephyrians did not understand. Gravity manipulators turned space itself into a weapon. Reality distortion fields made the laws of physics into tools of war. Mars Defense Corps ready for engagement, Baker announced. All gravity weapons charged and targeted. Dr. Kate Phillips watched from her laboratory as sensors throughout the system came online. For the first time, Earth could see everything happening in the solar system simultaneously. The Zephyrian fleet was completely mapped and analyzed in real time. Enemy formation is falling apart, Phillips reported. Their commanders are losing control as they realize the true situation. Admiral Crix stared at his displays in growing horror. The primitive world he had come to conquer was revealing itself to be the most heavily fortified system he had ever encountered. Weapons that his empire's science could barely understand were powering up all around his fleet. How is this possible? Crix demanded. Our intelligence reported no significant military presence. His communications officer looked up from a panel filled with warning lights. Admiral, we are receiving thousands of targeting locks from sources throughout the system. I cannot even count the number of weapons aimed at us. The Earth itself began to move. The planet's rotation changed as massive engines hidden beneath the continents came online. Earth was not just a world, it was a mobile fortress equipped with weapons that could reshape reality itself. Lieutenant Colonel Rachel Stone coordinated the reveal from her station. Hidden installations throughout the solar system dropped their camouflage simultaneously. The Zephyrians found themselves looking at the largest military construction project in galactic history. All installations report successful activation, Stone announced. The enemy has nowhere to run. Captain Lisa Hunt activated the quantum displacement mines that had been positioned throughout the system. What had appeared to be empty space, suddenly, filled with energy barriers that would trap anything trying to escape. The Zephyrian fleet was locked in place by technology they did not understand. Perimeter secured, Hunt reported. No enemy vessel can leave the solar system. Emperor Thane received the panicked reports from his fleet with disbelief. The helpless world his forces had come to conquer was actually the most dangerous military power the galaxy had ever seen. Earth had been hiding in plain sight for decades. How could our intelligence have been so wrong? Thane demanded. His advisors had no answers. The humans had played a game of deception so sophisticated that the Empire's best analysts had been completely fooled. Every signal, every broadcast, every piece of information about Earth had been carefully crafted to hide the truth. President Morrison watched the tactical displays as the alien fleet tried to reorganize itself. Their tight formations were breaking, apart as individual ships attempted to flee. But there was nowhere to go. Humanity had turned the entire solar system into a trap. Open a channel to the Zephyrian fleet, Morrison ordered. His image appeared on screens throughout the alien armada. The man they had dismissed as the leader of a primitive species now spoke with the authority of the most powerful military commander in known space. Admiral Crix, you came here believing Earth was defenseless, Morrison said calmly. You discovered that appearances can be deceiving. Your empire has made many mistakes, but underestimating humanity will be your last. The revelation was complete. Earth had dropped its disguise and stood revealed as the galaxy's ultimate predator. The Zephyrian Empire had flown into a trap 60 years in the making. Commander Johnson monitored power levels throughout the defense network. Every weapon system was online and ready. The largest military force in galactic history was aimed at an enemy that had expected no resistance at all. All systems operational, Johnson reported. We can maintain full combat readiness for 72 hours if necessary. The countdown timer reached 0. The masquerade was over. Earth's true nature stood exposed for the galaxy to see. The empire that had conquered 17 star systems was about to learn what happened when you picked a fight with the wrong species. Admiral Crix looked at his tactical displays and realized his fleet was trapped in a system-sized killing field, designed by minds more cunning than he had imagined possible. The countdown to the end had indeed begun, but the end would come for the Zephyrian Empire. The morning sun rose over a world that believed it was living its last day. Across Earth, people gathered in their homes and public places to watch news broadcasts that spoke of humanity's final hours. The alien fleet would reach orbit in less than 24 hours, and everyone expected the end to come quickly after that. News anchor Ryan Clark sat behind his desk at Global News Network and delivered what appeared to be humanity's farewell message to the cosmos. His voice carried the weight of a species facing extinction, though he did not know how carefully his words had been chosen by others. This is humanity's final broadcast to the galaxy, Clark said, looking directly into the camera. We are a young species who sought only to explore the stars and learn about the universe. We never wanted war, but war has found us. If any civilization receives this message after our extinction, please remember that Earth tried to choose peace. The broadcast was transmitted on frequencies that alien observers could easily intercept. It painted exactly the picture humanity wanted the Zephyrian Empire to see. A helpless world accepting its fate with dignity. But in the hidden command centers, beneath major cities, a very different message was being prepared. President Morrison stood before a secure communication array that could reach every human military installation throughout the solar system in an instant. Tomorrow we reveal what Earth really is, Morrison said to the assembled commanders. 60 years of deception end in 24 hours. The galaxy thinks we are lambs going to slaughter. They will learn we are wolves in sheep's clothing. Dr. Kate Phillips worked through the night in her laboratory, analyzing every scrap of data about Zephyrian biology and psychology. Understanding your enemy was the first rule of warfare, and she had studied this particular enemy for most of her adult life. They are reptilian in nature but evolved on a high-gravity world, Phillips explained to a gathering of military strategists. This makes them physically strong but limits their reaction times. Their brain chemistry shows predictable aggression patterns when challenged. Colonel Amy Walsh took notes as Phillips continued her briefing. Walsh commanded Defense Grid 7, which covered most of North America. Her soldiers had trained in underground bunkers for their entire careers, waiting for this day. The Zephyrians have a rigid command structure, Phillips added. Remove the leadership, and the rest will become confused and disorganized. Their entire military doctrine depends on maintaining fear and overwhelming superiority. Commander Steve Johnson monitored the final stages of Project Prometheus from his station deep beneath the Colorado mountains. The project's name was carefully chosen. In ancient mythology, Prometheus had stolen fire from the gods to give to humanity. This modern Prometheus would give humanity something far more valuable than fire. All primary systems show green across the board, Johnson reported. Backup systems are at full readiness. We can maintain operations for 72 hours even if primary power is lost. The Emperor Thane of the Zephyrian Empire received regular reports from his fleet as they approached the human home world. Each report confirmed what Imperial intelligence had predicted. Earth appeared completely defenseless, and its people seemed resigned to their fate. The humans continue to broadcast messages of surrender, Admiral Crix reported during their daily communication. Some are trying to evacuate their cities, but most appear to be accepting the inevitable. Thane nodded approvingly. Fear is our most effective weapon. When they surrender without resistance, the conquest will cost us nothing and gain us another world to exploit. Neither the Emperor nor his admiral knew that their communications were being monitored by equipment hidden in the outer solar system. Every word they spoke was analyzed by human intelligence specialists who had spent decades learning to think like Zephyrians. Captain Alex Turner stood before a holographic display that showed the real solar system, not the version visible to alien observers. Hundreds of green dots marked hidden human installations. Red dots showed the approaching enemy fleet. In 18 hours, red and green would meet. Enemy formation analysis complete, Turner announced. They are using Standard Conquest Pattern 7, maximum intimidation with minimal defensive precautions. Lieutenant Colonel Rachel Stone coordinated final preparations with installations throughout the solar system. Luna Base reported all systems operational. Mars Command confirmed readiness status. The asteroid belt network had been silent for weeks, appearing to be nothing more than floating rocks and ice. Outer perimeter defenses are in position, Stone reported. The enemy will encounter our first surprise line approximately 6 hours before reaching Earth orbit. Ambassador Nick Carter met with representatives of neutral alien governments who had offered to mediate between Earth and the Zephyrian Empire. The ambassadors were trying to save humanity from certain destruction, not knowing they were actually witnessing the end of Zephyrian expansion. Please reconsider, urged Ambassador Thex of the Altarian Republic. The Zephyrians might accept a negotiated surrender if Earth offers tribute and accepts imperial governance. Carter appeared to consider the offer carefully. I will relay your generous proposal to my government, but I fear we have passed the point of negotiation. The die has been cast. The alien ambassadors left believing they had witnessed brave futility. They would remember this conversation very differently in a few days. Deep space monitoring stations tracked the Zephyrian fleet as it moved through the outer solar system. The aliens passed within a few thousand kilometers of installations that could have destroyed their entire armada, but the sophisticated camouflage systems made the weapons platforms appear to be empty space. Major Chris Baker commanded the Mars defense network from a control center hidden beneath the planet's largest volcano. His installation appeared to be a geological research station, but the volcano actually contained enough firepower to crack moons in half. Contact in 14 hours, Baker reported during the regular command briefing. All camouflaged systems remain undetected. The enemy shows no indication they suspect anything unusual. Dr. Phillips completed her final analysis of Zephyrian tactical doctrine. Their standard procedure was to destroy orbital defenses first, then demand planetary surrender. When the planet submitted, they would land occupation forces and begin resource extraction. They expect us to follow the same pattern as their previous conquests, Phillips explained. First panic, then desperate resistance, finally collapse, and surrender. They have never encountered a species that planned for their arrival. President Morrison walked through the public levels of the Pentagon, where staff members worked desperately on evacuation plans and emergency protocols. These people believed they were trying to save as many lives as possible before the inevitable defeat. Their genuine fear and desperation would convince any alien observer that Earth was truly helpless. But 300 feet below, the real command staff prepared for something the galaxy had never seen. A technologically inferior species was about to teach the Zephyrian Empire why underestimating your enemy was the deadliest mistake in warfare. Captain Lisa Hunt of the Solar Perimeter Guard made final adjustments to the quantum displacement mines that had been positioned throughout the solar system over the past 5 years. The mines appeared to be natural phenomena to anyone scanning the area, but they would become very active very soon. Perimeter network fully deployed, Hunt reported. No escape routes remain unmonitored. When this begins, nothing leaves the solar system without our permission. The countdown continued as Earth's last night of deception drew to a close. In 12 hours, the masquerade would end, and the galaxy would discover what humanity had been building in secret for 60 years. Commander Johnson received confirmation that all hidden installations had received their final orders. Project Prometheus was ready to begin. Earth's greatest magic trick was about to reach its climax. The Zephyrian Empire believed they were approaching a helpless world full of frightened primitives. They had no idea they were flying into the most carefully prepared trap in galactic history. Admiral Crix ordered his fleet to assume attack formation as they entered the inner solar system. In 8 hours, they would reach Earth and begin the final conquest. Or so they thought. The stars looked different when you knew death was coming from them. Admiral Crix stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the blue planet grow larger on the screens. Earth hung in space like a jewel, and the Admiral smiled. Soon it would be another trophy for the Zephyrian Empire. The Empire had taken 17 star systems in the last 50 years. Each conquest had been easier than the last. Most species surrendered when they saw the Imperial fleet approaching. The smart ones knew they could not win against 50,000 warships. The stupid ones fought back and died quickly. Earth would be no different. The humans seemed even weaker than most. Their radio signals showed a peaceful people who spent more time arguing among themselves than building weapons. They had no orbital defenses that Imperial scouts could detect. Their military looked like toys compared to Zephyrian technology. "Admiral, we are receiving another transmission from the human government," reported Commander Vex from the communications station. "Put it through," Crix ordered. The image of a human male appeared on the main screen. He wore what appeared to be their formal military uniform. The human looked tired and worried. "I am President Jake Morrison of the United Earth Government," the human said. "We request peaceful negotiations. Earth offers no threat to your empire. We are a young civilization, still learning about the galaxy." Admiral Crix laughed. "Your planet will surrender unconditionally or face destruction. You have 48 hours to decide." The human president's face remained calm. "We need more time to evacuate our civilians." 48 hours, Crix repeated, and cut the transmission. Commander Vex looked puzzled. "Admiral, why give them any time at all? Their defenses are primitive." "Because fear makes conquest easier," Crix explained. "Let them panic for 2 days. Let them realize how helpless they are. When we arrive, they will beg to surrender." Meanwhile, on Earth, President Morrison walked through the corridors of a facility that did not officially exist. The Pentagon's public levels were busy with panicked meetings and desperate planning. But 300 feet underground lay the real command center for Earth's defense. "Status report," Morrison said as he entered the war room. Defense Secretary Lisa Grant looked up from a wall of screens showing data that would have confused any alien observer. "All systems are green, Mr. President. The masquerade is holding perfectly." For 60 years, Earth had been playing the greatest trick in galactic history. Every radio signal, every television broadcast, every piece of technology visible to alien observers had been carefully designed to make humanity look weak and primitive. The real Earth was hidden beneath layers of deception that had taken 3 generations to perfect. Captain Alex Turner stood near a massive display showing the solar system. Red dots marked the positions of Zephyrian ships as they moved closer to Earth. Green dots showed something the aliens could not see at all. "The enemy fleet is maintaining standard approach patterns," Turner reported. "They have no idea what they are flying into." Morrison nodded. "How long until activation?" 36 hours, sir. All hidden installations report ready status. The President looked around the room at faces that showed no fear, only determination. These people had trained their entire lives for this moment. Their parents and grandparents had planned for this day before the Zephyrians had even discovered Earth existed. Dr. Kate Phillips worked at a station covered with biological data about the approaching enemy. She had studied 17 different alien species conquered by the Zephyrians. Each had made the same mistake of underestimating their attackers. Earth would not repeat that error. "The Zephyrians follow predictable patterns," Phillips explained to a group of military officers. "They use fear as a weapon before they even fire their first shot. They expect their enemies to panic and make mistakes." Colonel Amy Walsh listened carefully. She commanded hidden installations on 6 continents. Each base contained enough firepower to destroy small moons, but none appeared on any scan the aliens might make. "What about their technology?" Walsh asked. "Advanced, but not beyond our understanding," Phillips replied. "They rely on energy shields and plasma weapons. Both can be countered if you know what you're doing." Across the room, Commander Steve Johnson reviewed final preparations for something called Project Prometheus. The aliens thought Earth had no orbital defenses, but they were looking in the wrong places and at the wrong frequencies. "All camouflage platforms report nominal status," Johnson announced. "Phase generators are operating within normal parameters." Morrison understood the technical details better than most people realized. As a young senator, he had been briefed on humanity's real capabilities. The shock had nearly broken his mind. Learning that your peaceful planet was actually the most heavily armed world in known space took time to accept. The deception had started during humanity's first contact with alien life 70 years ago. A deep space probe had detected the Zephyrian Empire expanding in Earth's direction. Analysis of their conquest patterns showed they targeted any species that might threaten their dominance. So Earth had decided to appear harmless while secretly preparing for war. Every space mission launched in those 70 years had hidden purposes. Weather satellites carried weapon systems. Communication arrays were actually sensor networks. Even the International Space Station had been rebuilt as a military command, post-disguised as a research facility. Lieutenant Colonel Rachel Stone coordinated with hidden bases throughout the solar system from her station. Luna Base appeared to be a small scientific outpost, but actually housed the largest single weapon ever constructed by human hands. Mars Colony looked like a struggling settlement of researchers and miners, but every building contained military equipment. Outer system installations confirm readiness, Stone reported. The asteroid belt network is fully operational. The asteroid belt had been humanity's greatest engineering achievement. Over 40 years, automated mining ships had hollowed out thousands of asteroids and filled them with weapons, sensors, and control systems. The entire belt had become a single massive defense network that appeared completely natural to outside observers. Ambassador Nick Carter had spent the last week in discussions with alien diplomats from neutral species. The galaxy believed Earth was doomed. Several ambassadors had offered to evacuate human leaders and cultural artifacts before the Zephyrians arrived. Carter had politely declined all offers. Earth will face its fate with dignity, he had told them. The other diplomats thought he was being brave in the face of certain death. They had no idea he was buying time for final preparations. Captain Turner received updates from observation posts watching the approaching fleet. The Zephyrians moved with the confidence of predators, who had never encountered real resistance. Their formation was loose and their ships spread out across a wide front. They are not even trying to protect their flanks, Turner observed. This will be easier than we thought. Defense Secretary Grant smiled coldly. 60 years of preparation against an enemy who thinks we are helpless. I almost feel sorry for them. President Morrison looked at the countdown display showing time until the fleet reached Earth orbit. 46 hours and 37 minutes remained. In less than 2 days, the galaxy would learn that humanity's greatest strength was not courage or technology, but patience. The Zephyrian Empire believed Earth was unarmed and helpless. They would discover their mistake when it was far too late to retreat. The countdown to the end had begun, but the end would not come for humanity.